Okay, welcome. We're the Native Plant Society. Looks like we have about 54 participants at this time. We are most of y'all are probably in the Native Plant Society, but if you're not, or you're watching this on YouTube later on, we'll just talk for a moment here about our mission statement, which is to promote research, conservation, and utilization of native plants and plant habitats of Texas through education, outreach, and example. And this evening, we're having our 40th anniversary virtual celebration with our contest and awards presentations. I'm Kim Conroe, president of the society, and Bill Hopkins, the vice president of communications, and I will be hosting tonight. This week is Native Plant Week, and we've been celebrating with Texas Parks and Wildlife and a partnership in iNaturalist. So if you've done the BioBits challenge, thank you very much. Please, as soon as you can, get those observations uploaded. And if you have the ability to help ID, I think Sam was saying he needed some help with that. So without further ado, we're just going to move right on into our awards ceremony. In the Native Plant Society, we have several awards that we give every year in honor for people who have done excellence in native plant contributions by projects or writing books or through art or herbarium specimens. And so we honor those people every year through a nomination process and then a stringent examination of those nominations. But our first award will be the Benny Simpson Fellows Award, which is an award that is presented for the work for the enrichment of the society at the state, regional, or chapter level. And this is chosen by the membership. So these people have all been members for 10 years or more and have contributed to our society. This award is named after Benny Simpson, who was a society co-founder, excuse me, and president from 1999 to 1994. Benny Simpson was a wonderful man, and we heard a lot about him earlier in the week with Daniel Cunningham's talk on Monday morning. So if you'd like to go back and look at that on YouTube, you'll learn a lot more about Benny Simpson. Our first Fellows Award winner this year is Dr. Alfred Richardson. Unfortunately, Dr. Richardson couldn't make it this evening, but he has extended his gratitude. He's very happy. When I first talked to him, he was just ecstatic. He's a member at large in the very southern part of our state, and he has been active for many, many years in the botanical community there and around the state. He's written several books, and 2 of his books have received awards from our society. His Plants of the Rio Grande Delta was awarded the Donovan Stewart Carell Memorial Award in 1995, and his Wildflowers and Other Plants of Texas Beaches and Islands was awarded the Carell Abbott Award in 2002. So we're very proud that Dr. Richardson is one of our Simpson Fellows. Now, Liz Moyer is a person I've gotten to know a lot better this year, serving on the planning committee. And Liz, if you could join us and tell us a little bit about yourself and your involvement in the society. We have some up here, but you can tell us more.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Kim. Pat and I have been members since 1987. And our primary goal is to bring more natives into urban landscapes, which is what Benny Simpson really started that movement way back when. So I'm really honored to receive this award. My underlying reason for bringing natives into the landscape is because there's just not going to be a lot of wild spaces left, and we need to find a way to develop those super highways for the migrating insects and so forth. And I think we're doing pretty well with that. I'd like to thank Pat, my husband, the Trinity Forks chapter, and all NIPSOT members for their work to get more natives into public and private gardens. We are no longer the voices crying in the wilderness.
Yeah.
Awareness of and the many advantages of natives is really high, and this is our time to shine. So we just need to get out there and work. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Our next Simpson awardee is Robert Camper from Williamson County near Georgetown. Robert, could you please join us and turn on your video and your audio and talk to us a little bit about your involvement in the society?
Okay. I think I was chosen for the honor because whenever I was asked to do something, I had a hard time saying no. I was never in the military, so I never learned not to volunteer for anything. And basically, I just like having fun, learning about native plants, nature, computers, photography, organizing things, and so on. Couldn't have done anything without the unconditional love and support of my life partner, Sandra. And I probably wouldn't be alive today if it were not for her. And I also couldn't have done anything without the help, mentoring, and support of many NIPSOP members, several of whom are previous recipients of this honor, including Janet Church, Dennis and Marilyn Purrs, Vicki Husband, Kathy McCormick, Walt and Kathy Henderson, Sue and Charles Wiseman, Kathy and Dick Galloway, Bill Hopkins, Sally and Ray Warren Book, Art Gibson, Randy Pensabine, Gary Bowers, Aaron Buell, and many others too numerous to mention, and last but not least, Kim Conroe. And finally, I'd like to thank the folks at Power for Parkinson's, especially Nancy Bain and Nina Mosier, and Gail March and Richard Mattingly, who sang and played on the Native Plants of Texas song, and to Mary Jane Berry and the folks at the Georgetown Area Parkinson Support Group for their support. Thanks for giving me this honor. My wife says not to say that I don't deserve it, but my name is on it, so I'm going to keep it. Thank you.
Robert, you very much deserve it. And if y'all are unaware, Robert is the brains and brawn behind our society anthem, which we'll all sing together later on in the evening, at the end of the evening. Okay, thanks, Robert. Our first award this evening, that's not the Members Award, is the Native Star Award. And this award is given to an organization or agency for a specific act of conservation or public service. And this evening, it is awarded to the Cmx Corporation. The Cmx Corporation has created a wonderful complex on the Balcones Dry Comel Creek and Wildflower Habitat Center, and that is located in New Braunfels. It has a 1/4 acre high fence of native garden, and it focuses on the plants in the area, but it has a plethora of plants that are surrounding the state. So they're going to take on rare plants, is my understanding. They also have a roadside garden. They have formal plantings. They have a conference center. They have a food garden, which produces vegetables, and it's tended by special needs adults. So that is a wonderful thing that they do for the community. And tonight we have Adam Slesher from Cmx Corporation. And Adam, can you join us and tell us about this slide and about your project, please? So if you unmute and unvideo. Okay, there you are.
So first of all, on behalf of Cmx, I would like to say thank you to the Native Plant Society of Texas for awarding us with the Native Star Award. I'm the plant manager for the Balcones Quarry, and we are all truly honored to have the efforts of our employees recognized by such a prestigious award. So again, thank you. The Balcones Dry Comel Creek Wildlife Habitat Center, as we have named it, sits on a 31-acre site on the south side of Wald Road from our quarry in New Braunfels. And it was started in May of 2013 by our employees who wanted to create an area where animals and plants could thrive. And we had been doing school tours of the quarry operation with 3rd graders for a few years. And the employees just wanted to be able to show them native plants and insects of the Edwards Plateau and the Blackland Prairie, in addition to showing them the quarry operation. So The project was originally conceived as a nature trail, and it still continues to evolve. In 2014, the first native plantings were installed along the nature trail, and the prairie restoration project was started shortly thereafter. And then in 2015, the pollinator garden began, and a high fence was built to protect it from the deer and wild pigs. And after many less than successful efforts at restoring the prairie, in December of 2016, we contracted the help of Dan Hosage, who I know most people in this organization know. And his expertise in plants and the natural history of Texas and everything else continues to be invaluable to our project. The road cut and barrow ditch garden began in 2018, and it also features numerous native plants. The focus of the vegetable gardens, as Kim said, is completely on a group called the Peace Group. Their mission is promoting endless possibilities by expanding knowledge and achieving personal outcomes through community integration that enriches lives. This group allows individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities to serve the community through educational programs. So we at Cmx built these gardens because we wanted the disabled adults in New Braunfels to be able to participate in the community and learn skills and be productive. We didn't do it for any community awareness, but we did it because it's the right thing to do and because we believe in the mission of the Peace Group. So currently those vegetable gardens unfortunately can't be serviced by the disabled adults because of COVID, but we're still producing approximately 200 pounds of food per week that go to the community and people who need them. So everything in the wildlife habitat site is handicapped accessible, and that includes the education center, which we built in 2018. And you can see it in the background of the photos there. It has a state-of-the-art audio, video, and conferencing capabilities, as well as a full kitchen. And it's decorated with Texas artwork and landscapes of the hill country. So this building is used for company events, and then we also allow nonprofits and community groups to use it for their gatherings. Additionally, for the last few years, we have hosted the plant identification portion of the annual youth range camp that the USDA's Comal Guadalupe Soil and Water Conservation District puts on. And to better serve them as well as other students in the New Braunfels area, we're currently constructing a properly oriented 10,000 square foot Texas shaped garden. It's outlined in limestone block, and it will have native and some non-native plants that will be planted on the part of the Texas map garden where they're most commonly found. So this garden will also be used to prepare students for the 4-H range and pasture grass identification contest, whereas in the past they've had to use our prairie for that preparation. And future endeavors on the site will most likely include the restoration of the dry Comal Creek riparian area. So again, on behalf of Cmx, thank you to everyone in the Native Plant Society for this wonderful recognition. And thank you for all that you do to help preserve the native environment of our great state.
Thank you, Adam. We're really happy that y'all have this going there, and it's going to be such a benefit. It already is, and even more to your community.
Absolutely. Thank you again.
Thank you. Okay, moving to our next award would be our Digital Media Award. It's a communications and technology, and its wise use supports our mission. This award recognizes outstanding digital publications featuring Texas native plants. And this year, the Digital Media Award has been awarded to Dawn Young for Prairie Notes. Dawn Young is a monthly web journal that has been published since 2004, and it focuses on field reports of the floral and fauna of Tandy Hill area of Fort Worth. The photos, there's a wealth of information found there, and you can go back to 2004, so it's wonderful. This award, this is from my hometown, and this is a wonderful place to go hiking at any time of the year, and it's there now because of Don Young and his group that preserved it. So Don, can you please join us and tell us a little bit about your work here and your prairie notes?
Sure. Can you hear me?
We can.
All right. First of all, I want to thank you, Kim, especially for walking me through this meeting and preparing for it. And of course, Native Plant Society for this wonderful honor. I first started writing prairie notes in about 2004, even though I didn't call it that at the time. The idea was to raise awareness that Tandy Hills even existed. Back in 2004, a lot of you know, this city of Fort Worth was at the forefront of the fracking boom. And one of the first places they were looking at happened to be Tandy Hills. So that kind of set me in motion in my activism. And one of the first things I did was compose a letter to the mayor at the time, Mayor Moncrief, and I sent him a book full of photographs of Tandy Hills wildflowers, explaining how amazing this place was and how it certainly couldn't be sacrificed for an industrial fracking process. So anyway, after that, I started focusing more on field reports of Tandy Hills, all the while trying to raise awareness of this place, because even back then, even for several years after that, very few people came here. Unlike today, 7 days a week, year round, we have hundreds of people here every day. They're not always here for the reasons I wish they were. They're often here to take photographs of themselves, but nevertheless, the crowds have grown dramatically. I started doing this on a yellow pad originally, and then I had some help getting it on getting a website with some computer friends. Jen Schultzy, Jenny Joplin helped me get that going. So I was focusing on education. I was reading as many books as I could on the subject, including this one, Prairie Wildflowers by Deborah Young, my wife. On the left there, you can see one of the early protests we had in 2004 or 5, trying to get public awareness. And one of the things I think I have been focused on from the beginning is getting, by raising awareness, is drawing attention to Tandy Hills. And so I didn't mind jumping in front of the camera or protesting in front of a Baptist church, whatever it took. We made ourselves known. So by 2006, we started having other events such as Prairie Fest, which really raised the profile of Tandy Hills. And a lot of people learned to fall in love with it. Anyhow, with the Prairie Notes, I really didn't know much about the plant life here. I just knew it was amazing. So I started reading a lot of books, and I had a lot of help too. I have to mention I had, in part of my education and understanding Tandy Hills, I had help from Wayne Clark and Suzanne Tuttle, both of whom were directors of the Fort Worth Nature Center. And of course, the late Jim Barnum taught me a heck of a lot about wildflowers, especially the early spring ones. The trout lily, of course. He was the trout lily guy who would get us on, we'd have hikes every year with Jim Barnum. Also got a lot of information from Jeff Quayle, who was award winner tonight, I think. And Dr. Bruce Benz at TWC, Texas Wesleyan. And of course, the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center, INAD eventually. And I have to mention Bob O'Kinnon, of course, with Britt, was very helpful to me in trying to figure out what was here. And last but not least, Sam Kiesnick, who helped me explain the things I was writing about and taking photographs of at Tandy Hills. And some of the other ways we had, we raised our profile was this photo you see here is our annual New Year's Day hike known as the Manly Men Wild Women Hike. Draws large numbers of people every January 1st. What else are you going to do on New Year's morning, right? Except
Sleep
freeze your backside off and walk for a couple of hours. So that was very successful. And one of the previous slides you showed our Kids on the Prairie program, which was very, very popular for several years with Fort Worth ISD and other schools. I want to thank you so much for the honor, Kim.
No, it was a committee. but you deserve it.
We appreciate it. And last of not least, of course, Deborah Young. She's right here beside me, not just tonight in person, but all the time helping me get all this done. She cracks the whip to make sure those prairie notes get done on the first of the month every month.
I don't do that. I don't really do that, Kim.
You know, but Fort Worth is very fortunate to have y'all in our midst, because without your dedication and tenacity, we wouldn't have this beautiful preserve, nature preserve, which has been expanded recently as well. So those of you that read our summer issue of Society News saw an article about that about Broadcast Hill. So y'all are just wonderful people, and you're just icons of conservationists. So thank you very much for your prairie notes and for all your contributions.
Thank you, Kim.
Amazing. Thank you. Okay, our next award is the Mary Jo Laughlin and Eula Whitehouse Award. Now, both of these women were extraordinary botanical illustrators, and Mary Jo donated our Society Bluebonnet logo. And in 1936, Dr. Whitehouse authored and illustrated one of the first books devoted to Texas wildflowers, Texas Flowers in Natural Colors. So this award is for visual art that illustrates, interprets, or promotes native plants. And this year, our awardee is Diana Kersey from San Antonio. She has done a beautiful ceramic illustration, the Riparian Edge, and it's depicting native flora and fauna on the Oxbow office towers in San Antonio. It's well worth a visit to go see that. And it's just another feather, as Michael Easton wrote here in the press release, in San Antonio's hat to have this beautiful installation. And if you go there, it's at 1803 Broadway Street in San Antonio. Stop by, have a taco, and look up in awe. And Diana, can you join us and tell us about your project, please?
Sure. Thank you, Kim. Thanks for having me today. And I just want to say that I thank you to the Native Plant Society of Texas. This is a tremendous honor to be recognized for the work for the murals. These two murals, they cover about 650 square feet in total, and they graphically illustrate the edge effect, an ecological concept that describes a greater diversity of life in areas where two or more adjacent ecosystems overlap. In this space, species from both ecosystems coexist, as well as unique species that are not found in either ecosystem, but are specially adapted to the conditions of the transition zone between the two edges. For me, the new Oxbow building that houses my murals mirrors that effect, connecting and enriching both the live, work, and play environment of the Pearl development with the lifeblood of our city, the San Antonio River. Native plants featured in this mural are the yellow water lily flower, the Indian blanket wildflower, and the prickly pear cactus. And then I'd just like to say I regularly include native Texas plants in the imagery in my work, and doing so connects me to this place and hopefully reminds my viewers that we are all a part of the natural world, not separate from it. And I hope it serves as a reminder that the survival of the natural world is ultimately about our own survival on this planet. So thanks again.
Thank you so much, Diana. It's a beautiful, beautiful installation. It's inspiring, and I can't wait for the day when we can come see it in person. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, our Shirley Lusk Award is named after a founding member of the Native Plant Society of Texas, Shirley Lusk, a member here in North Texas. And she attended the very first meeting during a Wildflower Day celebration at Texas Women's University in April 1981. This award honors a citizen scientist for collecting and preserving Texas native plants for public education by providing outstanding contributions of herbarium vouchers. And this year, the award has been, we recognize Jeff Quayle for this award for his collection of over 1,000 herbarium specimens stored at the Botanical Research Institute of Texas in Fort Worth. If you don't know, I'm sure maybe you did this in elementary school, and I know some of y'all do it for real seriously. These kind of squish plants become part of our natural heritage, and they are invaluable resource materials for future, for budding neophytes now and for seasoned botanists in the future, now and in the future. And Jeff is a wonderful naturalist in our community. He leads conservation walks all over North Texas and has educated many people in native plants. He is a self-educated man, and he is very, very brilliant about native plants. He, as you can see here, you can see the specimens here in nature and then as a press specimen. And here this talks about why herbarium specimens are important. And this information, this is a label. So you can see here, Jeff Quayle collected it. It has the recorded, it's in the atrium here. It was recorded in the atrium at Britt. It tells you exactly where it was recorded. It has the latitude and longitude, the date. So it's wonderful. And they can extract DNA from these. So these are wonderful historical specimens, and they give us information that photographs often can't. And Jeff, in I think it was 2000, actually discovered a new plant, and he was able to name it, and it's called the Senecio coylii. And I believe it's around Mineral Wells. So Jeff has some notes, and I'll read them to you, some remarks. He says, "It's quite an honor, and I'm greatly appreciative to be receiving this award, named after my late friend, Shirley Lusk. We spent many years in the field teaching others about our state's native flora. Thank you very much, and I appreciate the recognition I'm getting from MPSOT. I owe a lot of my interest and passion for educating the public about our state's flora to Wayne Clark and Suzanne Tuttle, retired Fort Worth Nature Center, Shirley Lusk, MPSOT, Bob Keenan, Britt, and my late friend, Jim Varnum, North Texas Master Naturalist. I think it's important to continually educate the public about natural spaces by teaching in the field. I've loved being outdoors, and I like to share my passion with others about the state's ecosystems and our flora." Well, I like going in the field with Jeff too. He's a wonderful person to travel with and to teach us about native flora. So I'm sorry that Jeff can't be with us this evening, but he's really happy to get this award. And what a contributions he makes. Our next award is the Carell Abbott Award, and Carell Abbott was a founder, along with Benny Simpson and others, in Denton. This award is for writing in the popular vein on Texas native plants. And tonight we have Marcy Scott with us. She comes from Las Cruces. I think she's our furthest west person that's come. She's written Hummingbird Plants of the Southwest, and it's a favorite of gardeners and hummingbirds throughout the Southwest. It includes 120 plant species used to attract hummingbirds to your garden. So Marcy, can you join us and tell us about your book, please? So unmute and video. Marcy?
Yeah, I think, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Oh, a huge bouquet of gratitude to the Native Plant Society of Texas, and especially the kind soul that nominated me for this prestigious award. You all truly astonished me. Now that I know more about Carell Abbott and what a larger than life figure he was, I am even more profoundly humbled. I have to say, a whole lot of people over the course of more than a decade made this book possible. I first envisioned it as a glorified pamphlet, one that would cover the hummingbird species common to El Paso and Las Cruces and their important native plants. As I learned more about the movements of all these hummingbirds, however, across the Southwest, the project's horizons grew exponentially. And as I became more fascinated by the evolutionary interplay between hummingbird and flower that is still ongoing, I realized that this was a truly special story that needed to be told and richly illustrated. So Wynn Anderson was my primary mentor throughout the seemingly interminable project, providing grist for the plant profiles, saving me countless embarrassments, contributing exquisite photos, and continually bolstering my enthusiasm. Dale Zimmerman, Mary Irish, Sally Wasowski, Lisa Mandelkern, John Stewart, Al Schneider, and so many others supported the effort, each contributing something essential to the end result. I owe a huge debt of gratitude to all of them. My husband, Jimmy Zabriskie, patiently endured the annoyances of living with a would-be author who was often untethered when obsessing over the minutiae of research. And he was nearly as elated as I was when the final proofs were finally sent off. My mom, Patricia Scott, was my most enthusiastic cheerleader throughout this odyssey and would be positively beaming with pride today. She passed away just over 2 weeks ago, and I dedicate this very special award to her memory. Thank you all again from the bottom of my heart.
Oh gosh, thank you, Marcy. Thank you for writing this beautiful book, and I'm so sorry for your loss.
Well, thank you for the award. It means a lot to me, and I know she's still beaming down on me.
Yeah.
It was a labor of love. It was a whole lot more work than I thought it was going to be, but I'm very happy with the result, and I'm happy to be promoting all the hummingbird plants that should be in people's gardens, that are supporting the hummingbirds, and the hummingbirds are supporting them. So it's a wonderful dance between bird and flower, and I'm just happy to be a messenger.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Again.
Our next award is the Donovan Stewart Carell Award. Dr. Carell was a taxonomist and author of Ferns and Fern Allies of Texas and the Manual of Vascular Plants of Texas. This award is for scientific writing in the field of native flora of Texas. This year's award is awarded to Shirley and Michael Powell and Richard Worthington for their recently published book, Flowering Plants of the Trans-Pecos and Adjacent Areas, Brit Press 2018. This book covers the native and naturalized plant species that occur in the Trans-Pecos, an area dominated by the Chihuahuan Desert. 3 lifetimes of fieldwork went into this book. Herbarium study and the love of plants went into this volume, which will surely be used for decades to come. Oh my goodness. I can't believe I did that. So, Dr. Worthington, I owe you a big apology. Dr. Worthington did send me a picture with this award. I didn't get it in the program.
Kim?
Yes?
I have Dr. Worthington on the phone.
Okay. So I need to apologize to Dr. Worthington because he did send the picture. I just didn't get in here at the last minute. My apologies. But he's not a square. He's not a yellow square, promise. And anyway, Michael Powell and Shirley Powell are co-authors. Unfortunately, the Powells couldn't be with us this evening. They have written remarks, though, and I will read Shirley's remarks, and then Michael Easton will read Dr. Powell's remarks. So Shirley Powell says, "Thank you and the awards committee of the Native Plant Society of Texas for honoring me with my very own Donovan Stewart Carell Award. It was truly a labor of love to have a part in the production of flowering plants of the Trans-Pecos and adjacent areas. Every weekend and holiday for many years was spent collecting and photographing native plants, mostly in the Trans-Pecos, Texas. The advent of digital cameras made our adventures more productive. It was such fun to be able to see photographs immediately rather than waiting on 35mm slides to be developed. I told Mike shortly after the manuscript and photos were sent to Britt, no more books. But looking back on the experience and having the book in hand, she's changed her tune. I guess they might have another book in mind." Michael?
Oh, okay. I'm on Dr. Powell's stuff. So And here we are. So if y'all don't know Dr. Powell, this is him in several different places, but most notably, you'll see that he's in the herbarium where he spends most of his time these days, and he's happy to have visitors come in at any point as long as they are open. So if you're ever in Alpine, stop by, take a look through the herbarium. He's always welcome to guest. So, and I'll be reading his notes that he had sent. And so we'll start off. So I get to be Dr. Powell for the next 2 minutes. I am thankful to the Awards Committee of the Native Plant Society of Texas for selecting the authors of flowering plants of the Trans-Pecos and adjacent areas as recipients of the 2020 Donovan Stewart Carell Award. He is very proud to say that this is his 5th Carell Award as author or co-author of several books from the Trans-Pecos, including Trees and Shrubs, Grasses, Ferns, and Cacti. He also goes on to mention Dr. Worthington, which we'll save that for a bit later. We'll let Dr. Worthington talk about that. And he also thanks his wife, Shirley Powell, which has been his field assistant for over 46 years. He continues to say that she has a broad knowledge of the plants of the Trans-Pecos and contributed many, if not most, of the 800 plus images included in the book. Let me scroll down. During the 20 years of work that led to this book, many others have contributed to the effort. Additional contributors are identified in the rather extensive acknowledgement section of the book, but he would like to give special recognition to Billy Turner, his academic father, who, if y'all do not know, had passed away earlier this year, who provided long-term support for the project and who also contributed parts of certain taxonomic treatments for the book. Secondly, he would like to thank the Botanical Research Institute of Texas, especially Executive Director Ed Schneider and Director of Brit Press Barney Lipscomb, for offering to publish the oversized flowering book's manuscript, allowing for the inclusion of over 800 color images, and for raising the funds necessary to get this expensive project in print. Barney suggested adding a botanical history section to the introduction, encouraged creation of the glossary, proofed the entire manuscript several times, and over a period of more than 2 years allowed for the inclusion of countless DNA-based taxonomic updates throughout the proofing process, and contributed to the project in many other ways. In short, we submitted what proved to be a rough manuscript to Brit Press, and Barney turned it into a beautiful book. The Flowering Plants of Texas is just over 1,400 pages that was intended to provide a floristic treatment of all the native and naturalized plant species known to occur in the Trans-Pecos area of Texas. The Trans-Pecos is mostly mountain and desert region of the Pecos River, an area the size of South Carolina that is noted for its biological diversity. The adjacent areas referred to in the title of the book are nearby Texas, New Mexico, and Mexico. Approximately 44.5% of all plant species in Texas are represented in the Trans-Pecos, with a total of 2,400 species. The book features taxonomic treatments of 2,300 plus flowering plant species, along with 120 subspecific taxa, and presents botanical information that will be useful to plant enthusiasts of all backgrounds. The introduction section of the book features information about the Trans-Pecos and the flora, including the vegetative associations. These topics are partially illustrated by color photos and maps. Also included is a botanical history of the region, emphasizing early plant collectors and the botanical faculty of the 2 universities in the region. The major portion of the book is the descriptive flora, dicots, and monocots. This involves the keys to identification, descriptions, and taxonomic treatments of the flowering plants, arranged in easy to use alphabetical order by family, genus, and species. Species treatment includes scientific names, common names, distributions, flowering times, discussion about related species, and other information. And finally, there was a glossary with literature cited with over 2,200 references.
Wow.
And that is it.
Wow.
And
So thank you. That is that's amazing.
And
And
I will
so
say that it is a wonderful, wonderful book, and I'm so happy it came out.
and again, you know what? It just wasn't our night for Dr. Worthington tonight. He couldn't make it, and I apparently messed up
Well, now, Kim, I have Dr. Worthington on the phone, and you need to unmute. So, Dr. Worthington, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, I'm going to put you next to my computer, and hopefully everyone will be able to hear you. And you can go ahead now.
Okay. I am Richard Worthington. I'm a retired associate professor emeritus now at the University of Texas at El Paso. Dr. Powell's description of the book is given to you, and it's very complete. And I have little to add to it, but I want to begin by thanking the Native Plant Society of Texas for this honor, and say one thing. Corella Johnson wrote my Bible in botany for years and years, and it's a very personal honor. And I also want to praise the Powells because they were just wonderful to work with. And I was very honored to be brought in on the project. Now, to most of the people, I'm not the most well-known botanist. In fact, I'm a jack of all trades. My doctorate started in zoology, and I came to UTEP with the intention of working in Mexico on salamander anatomy. They were making them endangered species. So I drifted into lizard ecology work, and in scrapping my study plots vegetatively, I became hooked on the flora. So one of the things I decided to do was to determine just how many plants we had. And so I started documenting the flora of the Franklin Mountains, which is a 20-mile long range reaching 7,000 feet. Goes right into the heart of El Paso. One year alone, I made 70 field trips in the Franklin Mountains. And I continued to work through it, but my interest grew, and I decided that I was interested in diversity of floras on mountain masses of different sizes. And so I expanded, and I finished up with a selection of 20 mountain ranges. And over a 35-year period, I visited them numerous times. In doing the floristic analysis of these sites, I also became aware that there was practically nothing known on the cryptogams. So I also began to document the bryophytes, the liverworts, and the lichens of these ranges. And in doing the survey work, I had an opportunity to work with other individuals. So I worked on polyploidy and cactaceae, got some work out. Pollination ecology, we studied the sugar composition in flower nectars and correlated with pollinators, plant morphology. I became interested in past environments, and I discovered that snails preserve very well in soils and are correlated with life zones. So I started work in that area, documenting mollusk assemblages and postulating from that what the past environment was like from the species that are no longer there, that we know where they live today. And they are datable by carbon-14. And now my last project is processing and getting a medicinal plants library of some 7,000 volumes to the Useful Wild Plants of Texas project. It's truly world-class, and there's nothing to compare with it. Finishing my career, I have collected 39,000 plant specimens, and they are the foundation for Herbarium UTEP. The herbarium is in the process. It's been digitized for a long time, but it's being placed in another format and imaged. So with that, I thank the Native Plant Society of Texas again for the honor. And I'm so pleased to work with the Powells, and I thank them for bringing me into the project. And they did that because some of the mountain ranges I was working on are in the Trans-Pecos, and the adjacent areas we talk about are contact with New Mexico. With that, I'll turn it back to the monitor.
Well, thank you, Dr. Richardson. And I think the next time I come up to El Paso, which will hopefully be in about a week or two, I'll have to stop in and say hello. I've been meaning to do that for a while. So again, congratulations and thanks very much. I know that I was anticipating this book for a very long time and was very elated whenever it finally came out.
Thank you, Dr. Worthington. And here in my face tile is a photograph of Dr. Worthington with his award. Okay, our next award is the Nancy Benedict Award. She was Society President in 1983 to 1984, so very early on. And she had an unwavering concern for the well-being of our society and was instrumental in helping to organize it. This award is for an act of conservation or public service in the field of Texas native plants. And our next awardee has done the task of Hercules, really. Charles Newsom has led volunteer efforts to remove invasive plants from Berry Springs Park and Preserve in Georgetown. And it's an ongoing effort, as you know, native plants are, but he has done an excellent job, has almost eradicated some species, and he has increased the native plant diversity and improving the wildlife habitat. So the aesthetic beauty is improved as well for humans, because humans use this park quite a bit. And could you please join us, Charles, and tell us a little bit about your work here?
Hi, can you hear me?
And
Okay. First, I'd like to thank you for giving me this wonderful award. I'm especially happy as an educator and retired educator to see the question of invasive plant control becoming more visible. What you see here is a piece of about 2/3 of about Berry Springs Park. It's about 300 acres. It's incredibly popular, and most of the people here are here solely so they can give their $1 and participate in the Saturday morning run. And this $1 goes towards the support of 2 very popular donkeys. Next slide, please. Next slide, please.
it should be there now?
No, there.
Is it there now?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
There's a lag.
Yes. Leonardo da Vinci was right when he said that water is the driving force for all nature. Here you will find many artesian springs, creeks, ponds, even a small intermittent waterfall, and they support an amazing array of plants and animals. We have documented hundreds of species of birds, dragonflies, butterflies, and many other plant and animal species, most of which you can see on the Berry Springs website that I have hosted. Next.
Should be there?
Not yet.
Not yet? Wow, there's a longer lag than I knew.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks to the presence of so much water, there are a variety of habitats found at Berry Springs. This includes riparian areas, savannas, dense forests, and prairies. Next slide. When I first started doing invasive plants, I called up the Wildlife Center, and this was one of the first things that they recommended that I do, which is to put together a map of all of the invasive species. And so what you can see here, I have actually not put in bastard cabbage because you wouldn't see anything but a single blob, because it's everywhere. We are making good progress on that one though. So I started mapping the plants, and as I began eradicating them, I would come across new areas with new types of native plants. So that's the first step you have to go through in controlling invasives, which is to create a comprehensive map of all of their occurrences. It of course grows as we learn more about the park and guides us in management practices.
Do you want the next slide?
Yes, please. Okay, as with the native plants, the park also supports a diversity of invasive plants. Here are a few of them that we've been working on. To date, we have removed more than 8,000 invasive trees and shrubs, not including grasses, and that work is ongoing. I eliminated 14 2 days ago. Great progress has been made, and we have removed more than 90% of the species that are shown here. Okay, finally, as with any area that is controlled by humans, there are also aggressive native plants that really don't get enough attention. These will take over the universe if you let them, if they're mismanaged. The first example of that at Berry Springs that I ran into was called poison ivy. In order to get to many of the invasive plants, I had to remove more than 40,000 poison ivy vines. And sometimes this took as much as a month to reach a specific spot, working from the edge, killing the poison ivy, then moving in and doing the next round and moving in and doing the next round. The overall goal of this is, of course, to reduce the predominance of these plants to the levels found in nature before humans began interfering. So most people don't appreciate that not only do you want to have lots and lots of native plants and lots of native animals, butterflies, things like northern otters that you see sometimes swimming around, but you also have to control the invasive species, and you have to control those things that are completely out of control because of human intervention. So it's not, even though they are natives. So I not only kill, sorry to say this, invasive species, but I also kill native plants too. Thank you.
Charles, thank you so much for this effort and work, and don't give up. It's a valuable work.
You're welcome. By the way, there is a brand new preserve in Georgetown that people might be interested in. It's called Berry Creek. It is a high-speed waterway, a floodway, basically, on Berry Creek, and it's different from anything you've ever seen.
But when we can travel freely,
Yes.
I'm going to head there, and hopefully you can give me a tour.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And anyone else who's interested.
Field trip. All right. The Lynn Lowry Award is for horticultural achievement in the field of Texas native plants. And Lynn Lowry was a horticulturist in Houston, a leader in our movement, simply by starting to use native in his landscapes and encouraging others to do the same. This year, our recipient is Sean Watson, who has also previously won this award for propagating rare and endangered plants in Texas. He's continued his excellence in propagation, and I am going to let Sean then tell us about his efforts. Sean, can you join us, please?
Yes, hello.
Hi.
So everybody, thanks for zooming in. First of all, I'm humbled to be amongst all these names and present in the past. And thank you, NIPSOT, for this award. And I'm happy this time I'm able to accept it. Last time I was sick when I had the award. So to me, this is quite an honor. So here is, on this slide is, we had surveys in Big Bend National Park on the Wild and Scenic River. Thank you, Michael Eason, for kind of hooking that up. And future surveys, and for actually the Mexican tulip poppy on the right-hand side is one of Eason's discoveries, and he basically collected the seed and gave it to myself and others to grow, and I thank you for that. And next slide. And so this is in 2007 at the Wildflower Center is when I started a seed collecting project. And this is probably me collecting on the right-hand side, Mammillaria hateri from Cibolo Creek Ranch. And the Echinocereus dacia acanthus on the left-hand side is via Patty Manning. Patty Manning, thank you very much for your wisdom and your help on some of those native plant or actually National Park Service surveys. But we grew some seed of that Echinoceristaceae acanthus. I like to call it psychedelic because it's the color variation of those cactus is amazing. And that's one from Patty, which is truly incredible. And I would like to thank at this point, National Park Service, Nature Conservancy, a lot of individual landowners who gave us access to these properties to make this possible. And then next slide, please.
Is it there?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is in South Texas. That is on the left. I'm collecting Hectia glomerata, which is a native terrestrial bromeliad. In the middle is Ladyfinger Cactus. And on the right-hand side, many, many years ago when I was much younger, that's a barbar cactus. But that was a great trip to South Texas. That kind of started when I started the seed collecting trips in 2007. We went 2,000 miles through South Texas and West Texas. Made lots of great collections of cacti that I was very skeptical would grow here. And then, you know, from what everyone told me, that won't grow here, and my own common sense said they wouldn't grow here. But in the end, some of those things did grow here. So I'd like to thank Philip Schultzy from the Wildflower Center, who went on those first trips with me, for his ingenuity and his just genuine love of plants in general. Next slide, please. And so fruits of labor. So through all those trips, this is probably in 2009. It was after the first 2 years of collecting trips. And as you can see, there's a lot of cactus there. I became enamored with cactus. And just the diversity of cactus in the state is incredible. And so I'd like to thank, at this point, Susan Prosperi, who is a big time supporter of Native Plant Society and just a native plant enthusiast beyond words, and Ryan McCready, who I worked with at the Wildflower Center, who's carrying that torch. But cactus collection was one of my big loves during all of this, and it's fruits of labor and fruits of passion. And yeah, I feel honored to be mentioned with the likes of, first of all, Lowry and Dr. Powell, and I mean, those murals earlier in San Antonio are incredible. So I would like to, tip my hat to all you out there who are carrying that torch. So my thanks goes to Native Plant Society, and thank you for letting me be a part of this tonight.
Well, thank you, Sean, for your hard work and effort, and for all that you do. It's a group effort, and it's many, many, many things, every aspect of our life. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Yes, definitely.
Okay, our last award is the Lifetime Achievement Award in the field of Texas native plants. It's the Charles Lynn Weddle Award. He was an internationally known plant hybridizer, a distinguished alumnus from Texas. He won the Distinguished Alumnus Award from Texas Tech College of Agriculture. So that was a long time ago. He's a past president and judge for All-American Selections Council, a member of Sigma Chi and National Honorary Scientific Society. Dr. James P. Muir is awarded the Charles Weddle Memorial Award this year, which is given for this lifetime achievement in the field of Texas native plants. Dr. Muir receives this award for his work at Texas A&M, including utilizing native species as foraging as forage, converting Bermuda grass pastures to native plants. He has numerous publications and presentations relaying the story of native plants and their benefits to livestock production in concert with conservation and his passion, inspiring students throughout his tenure. Now, unfortunately, Dr. Muir cannot be with us this evening, and I'm not sure how long a lag it is in between slides, so I'm assuming that y'all are seeing the next slide, which has Dr. Muir in San Telmo, Buenos Aires, which looks like a really fun trip. And then walking in the mountains of Colorado, I believe, with his Ridgeback dogs. So, which is a great breed of dogs. That's what I have. And hopefully the next slide is up. Here's the Dahlia multiflora in flower with little blue stem, and that was in north central Texas. And then here is Dr. Muir on a Dahau in Mozambique. And then the next slide is showing elevation study in Stephenville with Cytodes grama, which is our Texas state grass. And here is the last award. So Dr. Muir at the last minute, because I gave him the idea, or actually I got the idea from Bill Hawkins at the last minute to ask him to do a video. So he has done a short video, but he also sent remarks, which will be read by Michael Eason, and then we'll see Dr. Muir's short video. Go ahead, Michael.
Yes, so here are the remarks that Dr. Muir sent in, and so I'll just read his remarks without my comments prior. This honor means a lot to me personally and professionally. I'm deeply thankful to the NIPSOT for bestowing upon me the Charles Leonard Weddle Memorial Award for Lifetime Achievement in the field of Texas native plants. 20-some years ago, my family and I moved here from Mozambique, Africa, where we had worked for a decade during the Civil War. Learning an entire new set of native legumes, my professional specialty, was challenging. This would be the fifth corner of the world, if one can call Texas a corner, in which I had the privilege of making the acquaintance of native legumes. Many genera were old friends, but none of the species. They are now. It has been fun working with native legumes in Texas. I eventually found colleagues and friends who felt as passionate as I did about preserving local legume germplasm and making ecotypes available for grassland and savanna restoration. South Texas Natives, eventually expanding to Texas Native Seeds, was one of the first and most dependable over the years. The Texas Parks and Wildlife Department was another. I often feel guilty about getting paid to do what I so enjoy. Not enough to send back my paycheck, but work should not be this fun. Starting with the Texas Agricultural Experiment Station, now Texas A&M AgriLife Research, my work with native Texas legumes have been rewarding in many ways. Besides Texas, I still occasionally work with native legumes in South America, Africa, and the Iberian Peninsula. Thanks once again to NIPSOT for this recognition. And thank you as individual members for what you do for native plants in Texas. It really does make a difference. But I warn you, I may show up in your email inbox in the future asking you to collect native seeds of a particular legume ecotype in your region. So please don't delete my messages, ! We depend on you to collect the germplasm that may eventually guarantee the reintroduction of a particular native legume back into the ecosystems where they can play such an important role. Thanks for everything you do as individuals and as a society.
Oh, it's very nice. He made a special trip to be by that golden ball lead tree to get his picture with his award. And he was sorry he couldn't be here, but here's.
I'd really like to thank the Native Plant Society of Texas for this award. It means a lot to me. I'm sorry I can't be there, as you can tell from the background. I'm not in Texas at the moment. I'm in Colorado, up here camping and backpacking with some old friends. And so again, I apologize for not being there virtually anyway with you during this presentation. This award means a lot to me. And I very much appreciate what the society does for us in Texas. It gives us moral support, among other things. And I'll value this very much. Thank you so much.
Okay, I hope by now you have seen Dr. Muir's comments. We spoke a few times on the phone. He was a wonderful, soft-spoken, and very humble man, and I really enjoyed my conversations with him. Oh, and there it is, chapter of the year, Bernie. The Bernie chapter, and reading through the chapter activity reports. This chapter had amazing community involvement, especially in advocacy and projects throughout their community. So congratulations to Bernie. Everybody give him a big hand. Yay, I know you're clapping out there. I hope there's members of Bernie in the audience that are all of a sudden excited that they won this award, and it's well-deserved. And so that concludes our awards section of our ceremony. And now we're going to move on to the contest winners. And Bill Hopkins will be the host during this section of our evening.
Well, thank you, Kim. This next section is a little bit different. These are all competitive contests that members of our Native Plant Society have competed in. And let me explain a little bit how they work. Each one of these entries are judged by a panel of judges who evaluate them entries on a basis of various criteria that they've set up for themselves in a spreadsheet. And then they attach a numerical score to each one of those attributes and add them all up. And then each judge then adds all of those things together from each one of the judges until we get to a cumulative score. And of course, then the highest score is the winner. So we have a chapter newsletter contest, a photography contest, and a video contest. The chapter newsletter judges are Heidi Gigler, who is a former editor of our society magazine, Ricky Lennox, and Lonnie Childs. And the winner is Trinity Forks. We had five entries, and Mike Massell, who is the editor of the Trinity Forks newsletter, was judged to be the winner. So he's not here, I don't believe. I want to say the judges also mentioned that there were important things about some of the other contestants that needed to be considered. Conn County, they judged to be a runner-up. And then Highland Lakes, they mentioned had the best layout. The Cross Timbers chapter newsletter had the best basic content. And then the Clear Lake chapter was given an honorable mention for their use of technology because of the way that they produced the newsletter itself. So you can view the newsletter, the Trinity Forks newsletter, at this website address right up here. It's on a page of their chapter website. We'll put it in the chat window in a minute, and so in case you want to go there, but it's actually easy to go there because it's a tab called newsletters on their basic chapter website. So congratulations to the Trinity Forks chapter. And I know that there is a nice framed certificate that is going to the winner.
Yes. Next. Are you ready?
Next, yes.
Uh-oh.
So next we're going to have the video contest. We're not going to show the video this time. We did show it at the annual members meeting earlier. It is available on our YouTube page if you want to go there and look at it. It is the winner is the segment from the Warren Ferris documentary. It was produced by Julie Feynman for the Friends of the Warren Ferris Cemetery and featured our former president of the East Dallas chapter, Megan Peoples. So it's a great video, and I hope you go see it. And there is at the YouTube website, there is a playlist there. You can play all of the videos there and see them all if you want to at one time. Did I mention that the video judges were Kay Jenkins, Martha Pete, and Bob Camper. So now let's move on to the photography. This is the first year we've done the photography contest in this manner. In the past, it's always been a popular contest instead of being judged by judges. So it's done by ecoregion, as it was in the last several years. So there are 12 ecoregions for which the contestants can enter their photos. And then we're also going to award a best overall winner. So let's move to the first one. The Central Great Plains, the winner is Pauline Singleton. That's a great
Beautiful.
photo.
That's a beautiful photograph. Really stunning.
Yes.
Uh-oh. So they're just looking at the photographs and look who won this one.
Yes, Pauline Singleton is also the winner of the Chihuahuan Desert ecoregion. There are 12 different ecoregions. You can enter, a contestant can enter one photo in each one of those regions. So Pauline Singleton has won 2 of them.
Congratulations.
So far.
Pauline. That's awesome. That's so far. Let's see.
And the Cross Timbers chapter, the winner is Brenda Wellenreiter for her photo of American basket flower.
Very nice.
And the East Central Texas Plains, the winner is Tom Lebsek. Great
Bill,
picture.
you're not going to say the scientific names?
Oh, well, they're there. I'm having enough trouble with their real names, with their personal names. For the Edwards Plateau, the winner is Paula Levincombe, I think.
Beautiful. I think that's a great picture.
It is. And for the Gulf Coast Prairies and Marshes, the winner is Robert Camper for Helianthus maximiliani.
I can see this. Can't you just feel the ocean breeze and see it? Beautiful.
And for the High Plains, it's Pauline Singleton is a winner for her photo of Engelmannia peristinia. For Southern Texas Plain, this is a great picture.
Yeah.
David E. Lemke has won for Berberis trifoliata. Nice. And in the Texas Blacklands Prairie, we have a photo winner by Roger Sanderson, a photo of Maclura pomifera. Is there supposed to be a hyphen in there?
No, that's a typing error.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's great. And Roger Sanderson wins again for the Western Gulf Coastal Plain for Rhododendron canescens. Oh, these are all great photos, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah. And now we have the
Best in Show is Roger Sanderson is the winner for the Best in Show for Maclura pomifera.
So congratulations to all of the contest winners, and everyone will be receiving a certificate in the mail.
And I just want to mention that you can see all of these photos, plus all the ones that didn't win as well. There were 90 photos altogether. I want to mention the judges. I didn't on that, did I? It's Cindy Kearney, Wallace Ward, Mary Horn, and Michael Eason are the 4 judges of the photo contest. And you can see on our website at the very bottom of the page, you'll see a series of icons for our various social media. And one of them is for our photo album called Smug Mug. And on that, you can look at all of these photos, including the ones that didn't win. They're all great, by the way. Thank you. And
Well,
congratulations to all the winners.
Yes, congratulations. I imagine it was a very hard job judging them. All the photographs were beautiful. And congratulations and thank you. We're at the end of our program. We do have 2 more minutes, though, with our society anthem. So you can stand if you wish. Susan Austin has come just in time, it looks like, for the anthem. And without further ado, when this ends, our program will be over. Thank you all for coming very much. We really appreciate it. We've had a great week celebrating Texas Native Plant Week with our Bio Blitz and then all our wonderful speakers, the workshop this morning with NLCP and our meeting, and now tonight with the annual presentation of awards. So thank you. And please sing along with us with Robert Camper's song. Can we sing, Karina? Yeah, let's sing.
The native plants of Texas are the only plants for me. They grow high up in the mountains, cross the plains down to the sea. From Red River to the Rio Grande, Big Bend to the Gulf of Mexico. The native plants of Texas are the best plants you will know. Woo! Blue bonnets on the roadsides, burst into blooms of blue and gold. Indian blankets, Mexican hats, turn that blue to red and gold. There's a rainbow of colors in biodiversity, and the native plants of Texas are the best for you and me. The native plants of Texas are the only plants for me. They grow high up in the mountains, cross the plains and down the sea. From Red River to the Rio Grande, Big Bend to the Gulf of Mexico. The native plants of Texas are the best plants you will know. The native plants of Texas are the only plants